welcome to We The Meeple, where we hold these truths to be self-evident that we love board games and we want to talk about them. My name is Cory. I'm going to be your host for this new podcast. I have come over from the Thoughts and Players podcast to do a side project with two amazing co-hosts. We have Cody to start.
Hello.
And we have Joseph.
I have no clue what I'm doing.
There we go. Yeah, I picked it up. No Jeremy or David. You likely won't see them on this podcast, but they are over on the Thoughts and Players Gaming podcast if you want to hear them with us every other week. But we are strictly talking board games on this podcast. So let's just jump right into it. I'm very excited to be talking board games. I know both of you guys are excited. We've been planning this for a little while. So
absolutely.
I think we have a great show. Should be very filling, and we have all these different segments I want to introduce you to. So first up is our discussion topic. And since you don't really know us as board gamers, we're going to kind of introduce you by doing something I call first, latest, and greatest. So we're going to talk about our first gaming memories, our latest gaming memories, and our greatest gaming memories. So I've talked enough. Let's hit up the first gaming memories. Cody, what have you got for us?
The first gaming memory for our group, I'm going to go with Camel Up. It was the first game I feel like where we really got into it, like highly in depth. We started naming these camels. You know, the green one never would win. It's a kind of a gambling game a little bit, trying to bet on which camel you think is going to win the race first. But to me, that was the first moment where I thought, like, wow, these games are way different than the games you play as kids, you know, and it propelled us to want to get more games, I feel like.
Yeah, that was one of the early ones. I would say it was easily within our like top 10 of like hobby board games that we really got into.
Mm-hmm.
And probably one of the first ones where we played it like every weekend to start off. So yeah, Joseph, first gaming memory you want to talk about?
The first game that I felt that we got into that made me want to keep buying more board games, more strategic board games, was Fury of Dracula. Fury of Dracula is like a hidden movement game where you try to find Dracula and Dracula's trying to run away. If you get Dracula, you can try to kill him and Dracula can attack you back. But I feel like that was one of the first games where I'm like, man, this is a fun hobby. The strategic aspect to the game is just crazy, and I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah, so I think as a group, that was easily our first big gaming experience together. You know, we kind of all got into the hobby at the exact same time. You know, we all decided, hey, we want to get a board game, and we really did our research, and we got Fury of Dracula 3rd edition. And I don't know, looking back, it's kind of crazy that was our first one, right? Like
a little bit. It was kind of complicated. It's a super long game.
I can't even believe you figured out the rules.
Right. Like Camel Up seems like a much easier game to get into. It's
sure,
a lot more.
Sure.
You can sit at the table and, you know, have beers and kind of just enjoy the time. Fury of Dracula, like, it was a 30-page rule book. It was all over the place. The rules were intense. You know, it was unlike anything we've ever played.
I mean, that game actually gave me like a headache sometimes. Like, that's how in depth it is.
Yeah, it was easily a 3-hour game, especially for us learning the rules.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, that was the game that, like, we loved it. You know, we would play that every weekend because that was the only game we had for like a couple months, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was good. I think it still stands in like all three of our like top 25 lists where we just, you know, the memory of the game is so much that we can't really let it go. And it's still a pretty good game. You know, it's long, it's complicated, but I don't think they've made like a hidden movement game quite better than that yet.
Not as good, for sure.
Well, that was an important game to us because I think if we would have bought a game that we didn't like right away, then our board game hobby might have already tanked. You know?
No, for sure.
I feel like
well, I'm sure you guys remember, but the two games we bought right after that were Dead of Winter, which I think
we
if we
did
played
not
it
like that game.
right, I think if we played it today, we might appreciate it a little more. But at the time, we thought it was going to be a little bit something else than it was, and we did not like it. And then we bought Marvel. What was that called?
Legendary.
The legendary card game.
Marvel, yeah. And you know, coming from like a Yu-Gi-Oh background, we thought, hey, we're going to have Spider-Man and his team against Wolverine and his team, and it was not like that at all. It was a co-op game, and it's like, ooh, this game is not fun either. So Fury of Dracula was that one. Like, if we would have picked wrong,
Yeah,
I don't know if we would have kept going on.
Yeah, we might not be doing this podcast today for sure.
Yeah.
So my first one is definitely Fury of Dracula, like you, Joe. I could also say Camelot. There was a few other games that we played, but I'm gonna take it back to my childhood. Code, you had mentioned like the first real game we got into, and I don't know if we ever would have got into those games if we weren't raised on the Monopolies of the world. Like looking back down, Monopoly in the board game community, it's not well received at all. But growing up as kids, that's the family game, and you played it every week. I know there was a summer where I played it 3 times a day, it felt like, and it really brought out that competitive nature, and it brought out the like, I'm versing you in a competition and I want to win. And we played not, hobby games, but we were into Stratego, we were into Risk, and we were into some of those like higher up but not quite hobby games yet. And that all led us to this, So while Monopoly doesn't get much credit at all, I'm going to give it a little credit here. So that was, my first memory.
I love Monopoly. I still play it.
Yeah,
you would? Okay, I
happily.
haven't played it. I have not played it since we started getting into board games, so I don't know how it would. I'm sure it would be fine just for the nostalgia, playing with like my mom or, screwing people out of trades. But all right, let's jump into latest. Code, what's your latest memory that you want to talk about?
All right, my latest memory is not a good one. We do a board game tournament every year. And the board game tourney, we each pick a board game, 3 board games that we play. And the last board game we played was a game called Parks. Great game, looks good, plays good, the pieces are nice on it. Unfortunately, in a board game tournament with 3 people, someone can sway the tournament in another person's favor. So I had the lead. Cory decided to do what I call a stupid move, and I end up losing the tournament. But that to me is my latest one I remember for a bad one. But it is what it is. So I forgive you.
Yeah, you forgave me.
I forgive you. And Joey earned the victory. So
I appreciate that.
And I just want to let everyone know that Cody has declared he will not do another board game tournament. But I think if this first video gets like 100 views, Code,
I think we're gonna have to.
Back in the saddle.
We're gonna have to. Yeah.
Right. If we're doing this, people want to see that board game.
I think we're gonna have to.
If we do a board game podcast, I will do the tournament because it
all right,
needs to be done.
We go. So we're gonna keep this podcast alive just to do the tournament. Yeah, speaking of the board game tournament, like if anyone wants to know, like Cody said, we each pick 3 games, so there's 9 games on the table. Whoever wins the game gets 3 points. Second place gets 2 points. Third place gets 1 point. Whoever's the leader after 9 games wins, and the other 2 have to buy that person a board game. So I won year 1, Joseph won year 2. It's been a lot of fun, but like Cody said, you get games where it's not quite like a solo play, and you can kind of affect other people. Yeah, it can get a little rowdy. So yeah.
The fun part is though, I feel like we've always been close. You know what I mean? There's never been like it's always going to come down to the last game. There's never been we've only done it 2 years, but there's never been a moment where we're just like, man, this guy just killed it this year. It wasn't even close.
I like how we've added things. Like first year it was straight up just our 9 games, and then this year or last year it was we each pick 5 games, and then each of the other opponents get to ban one of them. Because they want to ban the game they're worst at. So obviously. That adds a lot of strategic value to it. And, I hope to keep doing it. I love the board game tournament. So, but it is the only time I do get salty playing board games. Most of the time I'm even keel. Board games are fun. But when there's actually something on the line, I'm a little more
invested. You're out of the tournament after the 5th game.
I'm usually laser focused in the tournament for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a little lackadaisical, but when the tournament comes, I'm laser focused for sure.
Get serious. All right.
All right. I'm gonna hit on my latest real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got 2 of them. This is for people that like deck building games and like deck battler games, like Hero Realms or Star Realms or something like that. I like that game too, but as I just mentioned, we grew up in the Yu-Gi-Oh era a little bit, and Yu-Gi-Oh just introduced something called speed dueling. Now, speed dueling takes Yu-Gi-Oh back to like the very, very basics. There's no pendulum monsters, no XYZ monsters. It is like pretty much season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh where you have standard cards, magic and trap, and you can only put 3 monsters and 3 magic or trap cards out there. And it really brings Yu-Gi-Oh back to the basics, and it made me kind of fall in love with it again. I've already bought like another 2 decks from it, really enjoying it. They also do this thing where you have one side card. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you get to use it like once per game. And it has like a character associated with it. So that's been really cool. Like if I buy the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, you can put the Yu-Gi-Oh activity card on the side. And when you want, you can flip it over and go through your deck and pick any one card you want. But then the duel ends after that next turn. So it's almost like in the show where Yu-Gi-Oh is, or Yugi is getting that last card to win the duel, which is kind of cool. And then similar to Camel Up, I want to talk about Unicorn Fever. Me and my wife went to the board game shop and she picked out Unicorn Fever to play. It is a gambling racing game, a lot like Camel Up. You have 6 unicorns and you don't necessarily own any of them. And even if you do, like you don't want to like, that one doesn't have to win. What you're doing is you're gambling on who you think's going to come first, who you think's going to do this or that. Pretty fun game, pretty good gambling aspect to it. The races are fun because you do all your moves before the race begins. So Camel Up, you're doing things as they're racing. Everything in this game is beforehand. And then you're just constantly flipping cards to see what unicorn wins. Now, me and my wife, and we also played with my niece, had a ton of fun with it until the very end. It had a really bogus final scoring. You win by having these credits, I think they're called. So I did so well through the first 3 rounds because there's 4 races that I end up having like 30 credits. But at the end of every round, you have to pay a gold for every credit you have. So that was fine. You know, first three races, I was killing it. So I was able to pay off very easily. 4th round comes along. I don't do well. So I had paid 30-something credits last turn, or gold last turn, to pay off my debt. And when the 4th round came, I only had like 15 or 20. So I actually had to take out a loan. Now, the game says if you have a loan, you automatically lose. So I spent the whole game getting all these really great credits, being in first place the entire game, for me to lose the last round, take 1 credit, and my wife wins because she didn't take any credits or loans. And she won with like literally 2 points. She won like 1 bet at the last race and she ended up winning. So it had a little bit of up and downs for me. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
So you're salty about it.
I'm a little salty, but
thought you didn't get salty.
It feels like the rule book. Well, here's the thing. Now, nobody was satisfied. Like, I lost, so obviously I wasn't satisfied. And Lindsay, my wife, was like, I won. I didn't do anything. I didn't play well, you know? And like, yeah, you won. So we all left the table kind of like, we feel bad. And that's not the only rule that they have. Now, they added a little like change of rules online on Board Game Geek, because what people were doing is they were taking out 100 loans in the last round and betting it all on every unicorn. So you would get 7-1. So even if you took out 1 million coins worth of loans, you would win it back by one of the unicorns. So they had tried to fix that by limiting it to 20 gold per bet. But still, it feels like the rule book's not quite tight. So I'm going to give it a couple more tries. Only played it once, but yeah, that's been my latest playing. Now the fun part. Let's talk about our...
Do I not get my latest part?
Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Joseph.
Sorry. I thought you were just going to skip me, but my latest board gaming moment is with my nephew and my 2 nieces and my dad, actually. We played Sheriff of Nottingham a couple weeks ago. And Sheriff of Nottingham is like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a game where you try to get like your goods into like the town, and the sheriff is trying to stop you, and it's a terrible description, but anyway, it's
a bluffing game.
Yeah, it's a bluffing game. Yeah, so you're trying to bluff like yourself into like goods into the city, and the sheriff is trying to catch you and all this other stuff. But playing with the kids is really fun. It's just a great time, and yeah, that's about it. It's my latest board game moment.
All right,
Not like it. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I
like that game too. Yeah, it's fun because everyone gets to be the sheriff once, and they try to catch who's lying to them, and then you can make deals with the sheriff and all that. So yeah, I love.
Yeah, that's probably one of my funnest parts too, is the negotiation, because you can bluff and you can negotiate to even if they know you're bluffing, you can pay them off enough to where they can look past it, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to move on to our greatest gaming moment, if that's okay with everyone else. Code, do you want to start it off again, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'll start off. All right, I need you two to do a little role playing for my greatest moment.
Okay, let's do this.
Corey, me and you are gonna be civilians.
Okay.
And then Joseph, we're gonna let you be Billy the Kid. All right, we're gonna take it back to 1880 in the Western times. All right, so Joe, pretend I'm just some young little lady walking down the street with a purse full of money. All right, you being Billy the Kid, what would you do?
Okay, I'm robbing people. I'm robbing the old lady. I'm getting so many points. It's not even funny. I'm like 3 points away from winning.
Hey, stop!
And then
I don't like what you're doing. I'm gonna arrest you.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's cool.
All right, to the story now. All right, so my greatest gaming moment is we are playing Western Legends, which is a game. It's kind of like a sandbox game. You can do whatever you want. You can become a criminal. You can become, a marshal to try to stop the criminal. You can just do poker all day. You can just do a whole bunch of different ways to win this game. So Joseph was a criminal trying to rob people, do all these things. And at first, we didn't know how to play this game fully. So
it's the first time playing it.
First time playing. So as a civilian, I arrested Joey and stopped him from winning the game. He would have won the game if we wouldn't have done this. But in the real rules, you can't arrest them if you're a civilian. And we figured this out the next time we were playing. So basically, we screwed Joey out of the win. And to me, it was just hilarious because he hasn't won the game since like 6 tries.
Right.
So,
right. It's kind of heartbreaking.
This was his one chance to win the game.
That's not hilarious to me.
It is.
I mean, like this is all three of our one of our favorite games. So to not have a victory in your favorite game feels like, man, I want that victory so bad. And Joe, you haven't had it yet. I don't think I've won yet either.
I think I've won like 5 times.
Yeah, it's been Cody and Uncle
one.
Ron. Good old Uncle Ron. You guys will hear about him later. But yeah, it was a tough moment for good old Joe, and Cody celebrated accordingly.
Yeah, but Joey has a story coming up that'll hurt me even more.
All right, Joe, do you want to tell us about your?
So you want to go first? You want me to go?
No, go ahead. I don't want to skip you.
Going back to my greatest moment, is almost like my first moment as well. It's about a game called Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is like a horror movie game where you're trying to go through this house, and every spot you go to, you put down a tile and there's a new different type of area, and you're going through the house, gaining resources and all a bunch of crap, and then in the middle of the game, there's a traitor, and the traitor it's just randomized almost. You don't get to know who the traitor is at the beginning of the game. It's just randomized of who has the different type of resources. So anyway, in the middle of the game, this is our first time playing this game. Cody becomes the traitor, and he's kicking our butt, man. He's got a bunch of monsters and a whole bunch of stuff. And at the end of the game, I need to roll a 6, a 6, and a 6 to win the game. And the funny part is, I'm this little boy, this 9-year-old kid, Peter Akimoto. And Peter Akimoto, my friend Cory, he's dead. He's like a 30-year-old character in this game. And the thing is, I have to carry Cory all the way through this house fighting monsters. And at the end of the game, all I got to do is roll a 6, a 6, and a 6. And guess what happens? Peter Akimoto pulls through in the clutch.
And I remember we
game over.
Peter Akimoto. And we still reference him all the time because he's now a legend for us.
Absolutely.
An all-time great. So yeah, that's a great one, man. That's a great memory.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go to my greatest. I have 2. I only had 1, but Cody reminded me of another moment that I got to talk about. So I want to talk about, again, one of our earliest gaming moments. I guess maybe games were better then. I don't know. But playing Risk Legacy. Now, Risk Legacy was also one of our very first introductions into hobby board gaming. So it was a new experience for us. We had played Risk, but we had definitely never played a Legacy game before. So we were all very familiar with Risk. We start playing it, and as we play, if you ever played a Legacy game, things change. You finish a game, and you actually get to name one of the countries, one of the cities in a country, and now that country is stronger for you. So it adds a lot of strategy from game to game. But anyways, this is going to be a little bit of spoilers for Risk Legacy, but I would say about 6 or 7 games in, I'm doing very well. Joseph, you were also doing very well. When you win a game, you get a nuke. And a nuke takes one of your dice and it turns it to a 6. And if you know Risk, you roll dice. Whoever has the higher number, they kill that many troops on the other side by the difference. So me and you are fighting right by Australia. Australia was always my chokehold point, the point I would always choose in a game because you could get those extra 2 soldiers per round if you controlled all of it. So, Joey, you wanted to fight me there. I wanted to fight there. We fought in the country right above it. I can't remember exactly what that country is, but it was the one right before getting into Australia. We roll our dice. I use a nuke to change one of my dices to 6. You use a nuke to change one of your dices to 6. I use my second nuke to end up winning the duel or the battle. Awesome. I loved it. There's a card in the box that says when you use 3 nukes on the same turn, open this card. Like I said, we didn't know what would happen. It's a Legacy game. We've never played one before. We opened the card, and it says this country is now toxic. It is now a desolate wasteland. Whenever you go through it, you will lose half your troops. It had made Australia worthless. My pride and joy, Australia, I could no longer go there. But it was just an amazing moment for me to play this game and for you guys to play this game too, I'm sure, that we knew. We've played it a ton of times. And to have this happen for that game is just like outstanding. It also introduced another race of people you could be that could actually move through the toxic. But man, it was mind-blowing at the time. And I think we keep buying Legacy games to kind of chase that high. And some of them have done it. There's been a lot of good Legacy games. But that was the first, and that's the one I'll always remember. And real quick, Cody reminded me of this memory, and now I want to talk about it. Uncle Ron, who had brought up a little bit earlier, great guy, really unique, really, really great guy. We love him, but man, he can be a trip sometimes. He took it upon himself to stop me from going to Australia. So in Risk, you kind of pick what you want to do first. Do you want to take the first country? Do you want to have the most troops? Do you want to take the first turn? He picked first country. He's like, you know what? I'm taking Australia before Cory can. Hey, good for him. He picked it. So I had a plan going on. I'm like, all right, I'm picking most troops. So I picked the most troops. He ended up getting something like 4 or 6 troops to start the game. He picked that last. I also, on my next turn, said, I want to go first. Sweet. I went first. He got a little bit later. When that game actually started, the first thing I did was attack Australia and wipe out his entire colony in one turn. The look on his face was soulless. He had no soul. He looked dead in the eyes, like he had just been utterly destroyed, and it made me feel so good because he was out of the game, and Risk is not a short game. So we all enjoyed playing for another hour or 2, however it was, and he was just knocked out. But love that moment. I'll never forget it. If Uncle Ron, you ever listen to this, love you, buddy. Thanks for the memories.
Seems like a jerk move to me.
That was a great move. I enjoyed it. But
that is hilarious. That was hilarious.
It was good. It was.
I've never seen a man so defeated in my life.
He was.
Well, he was so happy. He's like, man, I'm gonna get over on this guy, and then, man, the first turn he just gets knocked out.
If you know the history between Cory and
that's
Uncle
like.
Ron, Uncle Ron is always trying to get Cory in everything that they do, whether it's board games or literally anything in life. Uncle Ron is always trying to one-up Cory, but
don't know why.
This time Cory one-up
him. I got that one.
And this isn't a game like we play every week. It would maybe take a month before we could play this game. So
to be knocked out that early,
to get wiped out and then have to sit there, like you said,
in front of his son. Dad, what happened?
That's messed up.
That's not great.
It was hilarious.
Poor Uncle Ron.
All right, so that was first, latest, and greatest. We're going to start off every episode with like a discussion topic, but I thought this was appropriate for our first time. So Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to tell us some of your first, latest, or greatest memories, let me know. Post it on our Facebook page. But now we're going to jump to This or That, where we decide which game should be in your gaming library. We're going to take two kind of similar games, discuss it a little bit, and tell you which one you should pick. And we are all huge deduction fans. That was the first genre of games that we really love. So we have two that we highly think of. They are Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, and Secret Hitler. And we're going to pick This or That and tell you which one should be in your gaming collection. So who wants to start? Give a little plus for one or the other.
I can start if you guys want.
Okay.
Okay, so Deception is like you said, a deduction game. You're past, I think it's you got to play with 5 players. And every single person's passed around a card face down.
4 to 12.
It tells you 4 to 12. So
I got the game right next to me.
There you go. Perfect. It tells you if you're a good guy or a bad guy, pretty much. A murderer or, just whatever, a good guy. So then basically you get past a number of clues and a number of murder weapons that you can use. The goal of the game is to figure out, obviously, who murdered or who was the murderer and with what weapon and what clue they used. Now, how this is done is there's someone who flips over tiles of cards, and then they can pick through. They use tokens, and they try to give you hints because they figure out who's the murderer and what weapon and clue was used throughout the game. So you basically go through 6 rounds. You get 6 clues, and you can take a guess whenever you want on if you think you know who's the murderer and what weapon and clue they use. This is more of a card deduction game, and Secret Hitler is more of a word deduction game. You just got to go off what you think and what you feel about what people say. It's the same type of deal. You're dealt down a face down card, and then you're either a good guy or a bad guy. But in Secret Hitler, there's multiple bad guys in this one, and they got to try to work together to try to fool the other team. To me, I really like the aspect of just the words part of Secret Hitler. Like, you basically got to read the person in the game and go off your gut feeling of who you think is the murderer and why they played a certain card, either to pass the mission or fail the mission. Deception sometimes can be more of a given. Like, if someone picks the wrong clue or wrong weapon, they can get figured out pretty easily. But I do think Deception is a great game to start a collection. The game will never be the same, if you play it 100 times, it could be different 100 different times. And it's a quick game, so you can play it real quick. So if I had to pick one, I would pick Deception as the game between those two to pick.
All right, man. Fair enough. I mean, you did say it was mostly like a card game, but I think it's a word game as well, where you're like really hitting that verbal aspects because you're getting cards, but after every card, everyone's discussing the clue. They're very vague clues, so it's not like you'll be able to pinpoint who it is. It's like the murder happened at this time of day, and it's like, how can you help someone realize that it's the night by telling them the time of day? And you really have to kind of tell a story through those cards. So it is a lot to do with the cards, but I think they just give you a direction to go to. Now, Secret Hitler, like you mentioned, it is all just like, you got to take my word for it. I'm telling you the truth. And there's a couple things that kind of point out, like to play Secret Hitler, you have to pass a law. It can be a socialist law or a democratic law. So if you pass a socialist law, or a fascist law. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. That is that's helping Hitler. So it's like, why did you pass that law? Was it because it was the only one that you had? Because you're giving 2, and they both might be fascist. So you kind of have to convince people when those laws get passed that, hey, it was the only options I had. And there's one other person that hands you those cards, and they know if you're lying or not. But they could also be in it with you. They could be the fascist with you, and they could be like, yeah, I gave them 2 bad cards. It's all they had. So that one's more of simply lying, in my opinion. Which is both good and bad. Not everyone enjoys trying to just straight up lie to people. It gives them anxiety. It might not be in their wheelhouse. Where in Deception, you can kind of even if you're the murderer and you have to lie, you can kind of sit back and let the cards do the talking for themselves. But both really good games, Joe. You got stuff to add to this? I know these are both highly rated for you.
Yeah, for sure. As a Secret Hitler lover, I would like to defend it a little bit. Secret Hitler to me is like it's a party game to me. It's got like social deduction and stuff in there, but you come here with like 5 to like 10 friends and you're having a great time with it. You're lying, people are yelling at each other, you're doing this and that. There's not much strategy to it. There's a little strategy. You have to be a decent liar, but it's a lot of just yelling and a great time. Deception, on the other hand, is more like it's way more deductive than Secret Hitler to me. It's got a lot more strategy of what clue to pick, and as the forensic scientist, you're almost telling a story to the people to try to figure out the murder. As far as what would I put in my collection, it's tough because Deception, I feel like you can play. I played with my niece, my nephew, and my 2 nieces the other day, and it was a great time. It's all depend on what your gaming group is for me, I guess. If you're just with 3 or 4 people, Deception's probably the way to go. If you can get 7 or 8 people, I would go Secret Hitler. And I'm more like adults for Secret Hitler.
Yeah.
You're not most likely not going to play Secret Hitler with like your 8-year-old niece. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right, yeah.
It all depends. I love both of the games. They're both in my top 5. It's tough. I could go either game. You know what I'm saying?
So which one are you going? Secret Hitler?
Probably Deception, because I feel like I would play it more.
Okay.
Secret Hitler, I feel like we haven't played that in like a year.
There hasn't been a party in a year, man.
So, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, because of COVID and stuff. So, next time we do our top 10 list, Secret Hitler will probably drop.
Right.
That's just being honest. Deception might move up because playing with other people was just like, man, it's a lot of fun. Playing with all different type of people.
And I would like to kind of like piggyback off what you said. You can kind of role play Secret Hitler. It's fun to be like in that kind of like persona. Obviously, you don't want to pretend to be Hitler, but you do pretend to be the, I'm the good guys. Like you don't really get that from Deception. It's more of a logical argument. Like, hey, here's why I'm not the murderer. For Secret Hitler, it's based off emotion. Like you have to believe me. I couldn't do that. I would never do that.
Yeah,
and then, like,
exactly.
Midway through the game, you get to shoot somebody. And it's like this really awesome moment of like you're holding up a fake gun in your hand and you're moving it around, pointing it. Then you stop and you shoot them. And everyone's like, ah. And it's like, were you Hitler? No, I wasn't Hitler. Oh, no, we just shot a good person. And like you said, it is more of a good time, than Deception. It's funnier. It's, it's rousing. It gets the crowd going pretty much.
For
so
sure.
It does have a ton of benefits. I love Secret Hitler, but I'm also going Deception. One of my favorite games. I think it's a perfect, like you said, where the forensic scientist is telling the story. The murderer doesn't have to be too involved, but they can be involved. They can try to steer people towards other stuff. And it's just almost a perfect game, in my opinion, if you're looking for that deduction game. So I go Deception too. Cody, did you have another point?
No, I was just going to say you can't go wrong with either. If you choose either game, you really can't go wrong. They're both really good games and will be a lot of fun.
And I understand Secret Hitler is kind of a like touchy subject for a game. I do know there's other games that pretty much take what Secret Hitler does exactly and puts it in a different theme. So if you're not comfortable with playing a game with Hitler in the title, which I think I understand, there are other games that are kind of just like it.
Yeah, for sure. So Deception wins 3-0.
Sweet. On our first this and that. Wow, we did not pick a good combo because Secret Hitler just got smoked.
Yeah, for sure.
So Deception.
I was close. I'm close to picking Secret Hitler, but
they're both fantastic games.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so that was this or that. Pick Deception for your game collection. Now we're going to move on to our review game. We call it Was It Worth It? We take one game and we decide that after playing it a few times, is it something that should be in your collection? Was it worth the buy? And for this week, Joe, we have
Praga, caput, regni. I think I said that right.
That's right.
The designer is Vladimir Suchi, and the publisher is Rio Grande Games. Praga is like a city building game where players take turns performing actions, and each player chooses from like 6 different actions on like a spinning wheel. So each person could do the same exact action. It just might cost you something, or you might get something for a reward. These actions include building up your resources, building walls, getting upgrades, building in the city, and going through King's Road to get extra power-ups. The game mechanics include like area majority influence, end game bonuses, income, and among others.
I think that hits a lot of just the basic overview. You know, we're going to get into depth on it and kind of talk about every aspect of the game. But yeah, good overview. And while we're starting it, we should go with the thing that's probably most important for a game, I would assume, and that's gameplay. So, Joe, as you had mentioned, there's tiles that you choose from like a rondelle, a spinning wheel at the very top of the board. And the tiles that are closer to the beginning, they cost money. They might cost 1, 2, I think it's 1 or 2 gold. Mm-hmm. And the ones in the middle are free. And the ones at the very end can get you points, 1, 2, or 3, or is it even 5 points?
Or 3. I think it might go up to 4 or 5.
Okay, yeah. So they can give you points if those things get far enough along on the wheel. So, yeah, and it's a really cool mechanic where you might pick something a little further on the wheel because you don't want the next person to get points. But let's talk about the actions on there. So I thought for the gameplay, it was very simple. There's only, I think, 6 things you can do in this game per turn.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 6 actions.
Right, there's 6 actions. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot to think about at the very beginning. But what it really does is each action has so much depth to it that you really end up taking not a long time on your turn, but there's so much that you can do after you choose that initial action.
I mean, it's just 6 actions, but the strategic aspect to the game is like crazy. It's just crazy. Like there's a lot to think about. And like you said, it's only 6 actions to think about, but you're spending like 5 minutes each turn trying to figure out what you want to do.
Right. So let's go over a couple of the actions. Like you have 2 actions that just either give you a resource, either gold or mining, or they actually increase how much production you get for that. So a very simple action. You also have 3 actions that build a part of the city, your kingdom, I believe, or the walls around your kingdom. So those are another 3 actions. And then your last action is, what am I missing here, guys? King's Road, where you're going across this pathway and you're collecting goods. Now, each one of these actions is kind of on the wheel. It has another little bonus aspect to it where you might get a piece of gold, you might get a point, you might get an egg. What does the egg make sense for? I have no clue, but it allows you to go up onto King's Road. When you take these actions that help you build in the city, you get to move up on the cathedral, you get to move up on the castle. How does that make sense? I don't know, but those give you bonus points. The King's Road gives you bonus points. The walls around your town give you bonus points. There's stuff on the tiles for when you connect them, you get tokens at the end of the game, give you bonus points. You have windowsills that are either white or gold. 2 white ones allow you to move up on certain pathways. 2 gold ones allow you to take an extra turn. King's Road, at the end of it, you can get tiles that go on the bridge and they give you 4 bonuses. There is so much to these basic actions, and this is exactly the type of gameplay I love. I love when the game is so simple where you're like, hey, it's just 6 actions. And all you can do literally is one thing on your turn. You choose one, and then you just play it out. But as I just explained, there is so much depth to everything. When you are building one of these cities or one of these walls, there might be 4 or 5 different information on that tile that tells you all these different things, and they all really connect well with each other. You know, something on King's Road is going to help you move up the cathedral, which now you have tokens from the city you built, and it's just I don't know, it's complicated, but it lulls you in because it looks so simple at first.
Yeah, it's that perfect type of gameplay where you only have one action, one turn, and that turn it's just strategic. You got to make a strategic move to better yourself in the end of the game.
So, yeah, there's only 16 rounds in the or 16 turns, I believe. Yeah. So it's not like you're even playing. I mean, it lasts for a little while, a couple hours, but it's not like you're even, you have 40 turns to do stuff. It's just every action is so rich that you really get a lot done. Code, do you have anything to say? You've been a little quiet.
I mean, you guys described it pretty good. I do think it can get a little complicated the first time you're playing, just because there is quite a bit going on with each action that you're doing. But I do like the fact that there's multiple ways you can win the game. You don't have to have one perfect strategy, and this is going to work. You're going to win the game. You could have one strategy. I could have another strategy. We could both be scoring a lot of points and both come out, on top. So I do like that part about the game. I do feel like, though, it tries to take too much from other games. Like I feel like it's taking a little bit from different games that we play and try to combine them into one. Like with the rotating board. Yeah, like it reminds me of Zolkin a little bit. Just things like that throughout the game. It is a fun game, though. The board itself looks real nice. Looks like Where's Waldo. But, to me, if you played a couple of times, I think you'd get the hang of it pretty quick.
See, I kind of like the hodgepodge thing. I like different aspects from different type of games. I like that aspect of it.
From game to game, it doesn't feel completely different, but I had gone with a totally different strategy than I did first game. Like the first game, I feel like I really tried to raise up my mine and my gold production, because everything gives you bonuses. There's also, I didn't even mention it, but there's like 2 other tracks where you have a university track where you get cards that help you get permanent bonuses. And then you have I can't remember what the other track is called, but it's a track that gets you
like
points.
A book track or something.
Yeah, it gets you points with the university track. So you'd like to raise both of those, but you can't do everything. So, first game I was all focused on raising the mine and the gold track. And last game, I think I was mostly focused on like the city and then getting through the ranks in the church and the castle. So it feels like there's a lot to explore.
Well, there's definitely like at least 10 different strategies you can use.
Yeah.
And none of them are better than the other, I don't think. If you implore that strategy to perfection, you're going to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah, because Code, you went King's Road, right?
I went King's Road right away. But see, the thing is, I pushed it hard, but you still made it up to King's Road not just as quick, but you were right behind me
But you did get the better bonuses.
True, I did. But you were boosting up other things while I think I focused solely on King. I feel like you kind of need to have a little bit of a balance in the game.
Right.
I feel like you can't just strictly focus on one thing and you're going to win the game. I feel like you need to focus on maybe 2 or 3 different things. And that will, I think, greatly improve your chances to win the game.
Yeah, I think any way you put it, it has a lot of depth, a lot of different, just styles of play, like I said, where you're putting the tiles around your city and you're trying to connect them. King's Road, it doesn't really have too much thinking to it. You just move up a track and get stuff. But the boards at the top where you're moving up the castle and church, that definitely has a little bit of thinking of it, because you got to know when you want to rise up a rank, when you want to move right, because these things also offer bonuses. It's a bonus game, apparently. But,
for sure. No,
yeah,
end game bonus, for sure.
Yeah, just so much to it. It can get a little overwhelming, but I think the gameplay is a huge part of the reason I like it. So
definitely a plus.
Yeah, definitely
to
like
the
the gameplay.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's jump to components. So the board and everything that comes with it. What do you guys think of that?
To me, it's just average. The little pieces, they're okay. Nothing. I don't think they're anything special. I do like the look of the castle itself, how you move up the castle. To me, that was kind of cool. But the other pieces, to me, they're just so.
Yeah, that's how
the board looked good. I like the way the board looked. But once again, the board kind of looked a little busy to me. Like if you're just strictly looking at the board, it looks really confusing. Like at first.
Yeah,
like,
that's how I would explain
so much going on.
That's how I would explain it. Just kind of average. I mean, nothing great, nothing too crazy, nothing terrible either. That like pieces aren't falling apart and stickers aren't coming off or anything, but It's average, just like Cody said, for sure.
Right. The pieces were made good. They just don't look great. Like nothing to me, nothing special.
It's not like you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is like a great looking game. It's average.
I think
it's perfect.
I think you guys at a base level are correct, because like you get square cubes that are colored, you get little pawns that are okay, they're plastic, but I think when you kind of look at the board and actually your player board, I think it goes to like almost great. You got that spinning circular wheel at the top that it's all indented, so all the pieces fit in. You're not like fiddling around or they're sliding off. You have spaces for your cubes because it's like a dual layered board. So you put a cube in there, and when you spin it and it gets stuck, that means it's the end of the round, which is something really cool that I don't see too much because, playing games, like, oh, we forgot to move the round marker up one time. You can't forget it on this game. And then on your player board, it's also dual layered, which, you can put cubes and they're not going to move around because that takes care of how many resources you have and how many resources you can get. So to me, that's very important that it has that because we played plenty of games, Terraforming Mars with the cubes. You shake your board a little bit. It's like, I don't really remember what I had on this spot. So you can't really forget it all. And then when you're counting your resources, it has, again, the cubes in the little dual layered box. And you can't not take your reward. When you're going up and you get stopped by a cube, it's like, oh, cool, I now take this off and I move it past. And that's a great way to keep resources as well. So I think at eye level, yeah, it's a little plain. But when you look at the detail and like the extras that went into the board, I think that kind of elevates it to good to great, in my opinion.
I don't know if I'd use the word great.
I'm just saying, like, you take for granted that dual layered board where like your cubes don't get shuffled around and you don't forget to put the round marker, and the castle and the church are 3D pieces that you build. The King's Road has a bridge that you build. Kind of cool. It didn't have to do that. It could have been easily just straight up on the board, but they put the extra time into it. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the best, but I would say it's anywhere from good to great.
Okay, that's decent points for sure.
All right, let's talk about, Cody already mentioned it a little bit. Let's talk about theme and art. Who wants to start on this? Code, where's Waldo? Are you sticking with that?
Yeah, definitely the board. If you look at it, it looks like a page straight out of Where's Waldo.
Then is that a positive?
Game. I would say, yeah. To me, I like the way the board looks. Like I said, it looks a little busy, but the way it was designed and all that looks kind of cool to me. The theme to me is not really too interesting to me, but it's important, but it's not the most important thing. The gameplay is. But I would say the board itself is above or the art is above average for it. So.
Okay. Did you feel the theme at all? Like, not all board games you have to feel the theme, but did you feel like you were? What's the theme again, Joe? You're building a city for the king.
See, that's my point. I don't even know what the theme is.
Right. I had forgotten.
The theme does not come into play in this game at all. I think. When you showed me the board, I thought it was about pirates. I thought it was about pirates when you showed me the board. I'm like, oh, this is a cool pirate game. And then you're telling me it's a medieval Prague building project or something like that. And
right.
I mean, the art's nice on the board, and the art's nice on the box and stuff. But like I said, the theme, it doesn't hurt the game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, but it's not there. I don't see a theme.
Yeah, to me, it's like a series of mechanics. Just like, this thing does this thing does this. Like I said, I didn't know it was about building up Prague to be the best for a king. I just played it because it sounded good. But I do want to talk about the art. I think the art does look really good. Like Cody said, it like very reminiscent of Where Waldo book. Very colorful, and like the colors pop. Like a bright yellow contrasted against a bright blue and a red. All next to each other. And the board is extremely busy, but it also makes it interesting, like you can look at the towns and see the little people and stuff. I think it looks like a cartoonist's like example of like drawing a map back in like the 1700s, and I really dig the art. But the theme can just go jump off a bridge. I don't think it's good at all. But the art, while it's not like I don't think it's like beautiful. You don't look at it and say this game is stunning, but it has a charm to it. So yeah, I enjoyed the art for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's jump to longevity. Now, I would say me personally, I'm kind of like cult of the new. I'm always buying a new board game. I'm like, okay, I played that one once. Let me go buy another game and play that one once. Joey, you're definitely more of a, I have my standard collection. I like to play these games a lot. You know, I like to kind of grow into them a little bit. So, and Code, you're neither. What do you guys think, longevity wise? Is this a game that you would ever say again, like, hey, we should play that game? Like, would we pull it out if it's a random Saturday and we haven't bought a new game? Would this be something that you might want to pull out and play?
Me personally, I like it. I like it a
Okay.
lot. I would definitely want to keep trying to play it. Try to keep getting good at it. Like I said, the strategies, there's so many different type of strategies. And I don't see this not going into the gaming tournament. I think I might pick this one. It's one of those games where it's like, I want to play it. I want to get good at it. And I like it. I think longevity is pretty good on this one.
Okay. Code.
Personally, to me, I would say I might give it maybe another 1 or 2 tries, but I don't see it coming out all that often for us. Honestly, I feel like I said, it takes a lot from other games, and I would rather just play the other game.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Longevity wise, not even talking about how much I like it. If I do like it, I haven't said yet or not if I like it, but just longevity wise, I think you can get quite a few plays out of this, you know, because you're going to want to be exploring those different strategies, you know, because you might want to city build and do King's Road, but you could easily city build and then do your own castle, or city build and do your own walls and try to do that. So there's all these different combinations, because like I said, you can't do everything, but you can almost do like 2 things very strongly. So in terms of longevity, I think you have a lot of different strategies you can explore. And once you do figure out your favorite strategy, I think it would take a while to perfect. So if you do enjoy this game, you know, it's going to be something that you're going to want to go back to because you want to get better and better at it. You know, we've played 2 games and I lost the first one, won the second one, and I feel good about it. But I'm like, I feel like I could do better. And Joe, I know you're like, all right, the first time I played, I did great. I want to win. You know,
the
this
second
is the
time
third
I sucked. Second time I
Right.
sucked. So I want to
Right.
man,
So-
what did I do the first game? Try to make it up.
Yeah, I think you can get a few plays out of this, which brings us into our final thoughts. You know, maybe that kind of gave away what we think about it in terms of our final thoughts, but is this game your final thoughts, and was this game worth it? Is it worth it for a collection? You know, we have looked up the prices. It seems like the standard MSRP is around 70 to 75. I got this game for like 55. Amazon, you can get it for 60. So it ranges anywhere from, you know, $50 to $75. Is this something that you would want to add? Was it worth it for that price? Let's start off with you, Code.
I would say if you're a newbie to the, board game community, you're just getting into it, I would probably say no, just because there's a lot going on. It could be a little difficult to learn. It might, it might push you away from the hobby a little bit more than, it should. If you're, established like we are, I would say it is worth a buy. It is a fun game. You can play multiple times, doing a different strategy each time. So I would say, yeah, it's worth a try. It is a fun enough game where we can get, a few more plays, and possibly in the board game tournament it comes out. But if you're new to the hobby, I would say no. I would skip it and get something a little easier to start.
Okay. Joseph.
Okay. So what I would say is, if at 75, that's like a top tier game. And I don't know if this game is at top tier. It's like, you know what I mean? Like Gloomhaven and just like that type of game. It's not there. I don't think it's there. It's decent. It's pretty good. If you can get it for 55, maybe even 60, I think it's worth it. But over 70, 75, I might stay away from it. It's not that top tier game. There's better games out there. And that's my take on it.
All right. So that's 2 not worth it. It's all right. Well, both of you kind of were like maybe at certain aspects, but yeah, you said it was made by Vladimir Suchy. He made Underwater Cities. It's one of my favorite games, so that's one of the reasons I was instantly interested. And it is nothing like Underwater Cities. I thought maybe I'd see certain aspects of it, but I'm glad it's not. It feels like in this last like 6 months to a year, I've been collecting these kind of like heavier Euro games, like or medium weight Euro games. This one, Maracaibo, Smartphone Inc., Pipeline, and it fits like right in there. Like a heavier game that you can really sink your teeth into and get a really good time from. So, is it worth it? I think it is at 55. Is it worth it at 75? I mean, it's all about preference. If you're already inclined to like the action selection games and all these different things that are in it, yeah, I think it adds enough to where you're gonna find that it was worth it. And if you have a smaller collection, I think this is a game you can bring out multiple times, a year, or once a month or something like that. You wouldn't really get sick of it. So if this sounds like your jam, yeah, for sure it's worth it. It's worth it for me. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's worth it.
Okay, so 2-1, not worth it.
I will edit out your answers.
So 1-0, worth it.
It just doesn't know what type of game it wants to be. That's my final thoughts on it.
You already gave your final thoughts. Thank you.
Well, that's fine. That's my second final thoughts on it.
All right, so that was our first Was It Worth It on We The Meeple. So, yeah, good job, guys. We're going to jump into a little segment called the Digital Minute. Board games are coming out on digital way more than they used to. So we wanted to kind of highlight some of those. And we have the perfect person to do it, and that is Joseph. So, Joseph, do you want to tell us what game you have? You are on the clock. I do not have a timer. Code, keep track. You ready?
Okay, it might go over a little minute. It might go over a minute.
We are stopping you at a minute. Digital minute.
So my digital...
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so my digital minute is, we've been talking about Risk, and I got Risk on the phone. And Risk on the phone is things to know. You can play online with people, you can play with your friends, or you can play against a computer. It's some of the games are a lot shorter than Risk that you notice. And the fun part about the Risk on the phone is there's like different types of map. There's not just the country ones, and there's like United States is a map. There's like a whole bunch of different maps, and there's different type of game modes. There's like a zombie mode, which is kind of crazy. There's like a capital mode where you just try to like take down each other's capital instead of taking over the whole world. There's obviously world domination and stuff like that. But what I think separates the phone from the actual board game is like the game setups. And the game setups there's like a couple of them. There's
10 seconds.
There's blizzards. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna need more than 10 seconds. Okay. Blizzards, which is there's like the computer like automatically like takes out like a couple countries. So like half Australia might be gone. So there might be only 2 countries in Australia. So you might have to only take over 2 countries and stuff like that. So that's kind of a cool aspect. And the other aspect is fog of war, which, in regular Risk, you see everybody's board, you see everybody's army, you see what everybody owns. But fog of war, you can't see. And you can only do that on the phone. But fog of war adds that aspect where I'm slowly taking over North America and Cory doesn't know. So that's like a cool aspect to me that kind of makes the phone better than the board game, actually.
Quick, how much is it, Joe?
And that is my I think it's $3.99, but you can add stuff. I haven't added anything. There's like literally probably like,
and that has been digital 2 minutes.
2 minutes. That has been digital 2 minutes.
The fog of war thing sounds really cool.
Yeah, that's very video gaming. You see that in a lot of different like strategy war games online. You can't see where your opponent's coming from, and as you go, it reveals itself, and it's like, well, I just kind of walked into a trap. Now I'm surrounded almost.
Exactly. Plus, like how many times I've played where I've had like 20 people in my army. I'm attacking this guy, and I go up to him. He's got like 40. I'm like, well, I'm dead next turn.
Yeah. I was gonna say, plus, if anyone's played Risk, everyone knows the cleanup can be kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm sure on the phone, it's probably a lot nicer. You don't got to clean
No,
up
for sure.
anything.
And you can quit at any time. So if like your army's losing, I just quit and join a different game.
All right. Hey, sounds good. You know, we're gonna bring this every month as well. So get ready to buy more games, Joe, because you're our man when it comes to this.
I'm trying to.
I got
this
about,
subject.
I think I got about 10 on my phone,
All right,
so
all
I'll be
right.
all
So
right
that's
for
good.
some
That's
months.
good for a
Trying to
little
cut it
while.
down to the digital minute. All right.
Yeah. You got to work on
Sorry.
the time a little bit.
Digital
All right,
2
guys.
minutes.
All right, guys. I'm very excited for this topic right here. We are going to call this topic, this segment, the podium. So if you know what a podium is, you know they do it in the Olympics. You have 3 steps. You have the bronze, you have the silver, and you have the gold. We're going to take a topic and put one at the bronze, silver, and gold aspects. Is this just like a top 10, but a top 3? Yeah, of course. I just wanted to have a nice little name with it. So yeah, we're not doing a top 10. We're doing a top 3. We're calling it the podium. And this week, because it's almost a get to know you type of episode, we are going to do it on our top themes. So a bronze theme, a silver theme, and a gold theme. These are themes that just get you really jazzed up. When you hear a game is coming out with this theme, you don't know anything about the game, but you're like, I'm interested. I'm instantly interested. So without further ado, let's hit this up. Cody, do you want to go first again? I kind of like this order. It's really keeping things normal for me. So
Okay. I am excited about my third theme, and hopefully it's a real theme.
oh boy.
My third theme I'm going to go with is gambling. That's a theme, right? I would say.
Gambling, bidding? Yeah, gambling, bidding. I would say that's a theme.
Well, it's a mechanic.
What's the games and notes?
it's a mechanic for sure, but gambling itself can be a theme as well, I believe.
Okay. Well, okay. Gambling, you two know me. I love gambling. I love going to the casino and all that. But I do have a game that we have. It's Wits and Wagers, the whatever it's called.
Vegas edition, baby.
Yeah, I'm about to say. So, you take a trivia card, you read the question, we all write down what we think the answer is. We flip them over in, like, let's say 6 spots. Then you get these chips, you place them on spots where you think, the right answer is. So you're basically gambling your chips, thinking you're smarter than everybody else. So to me, like I said, I love gambling. So any game that has possibly gambling in it or gambling theme will automatically interest me a lot. So that's my bronze.
Cool.
Okay. Joseph, what is your bronze?
So my bronze is Cowboys and Wild West. Going back to my roots a little bit. My little kid's roots with my cowboy boots. Games to note are Western Legends, which is a top 3 game for me of all time for sure. Great Western Trail. I like that game a lot. It's a little long for me, but it's definitely a game of note. And Colt Express. We've only played that, I think, maybe once, but Cowboys for me are kind of, I don't know. It's just, I like that aspect of being able to rob people and shoot people, but it's Old West. You get a Colt, a revolver, and that's it. Maybe a horse. You get to ride a horse.
Right.
Yeah.
Cowboys was one I had thought of. I didn't put it on there. It's a good pick. My number 3 is super broad. Like, it could mean so many things, but I didn't want to narrow it down too much. I picked mythology. Yes, all of mythology. I tend to get attracted to games that have gods in them. We have Blood Rage, Rising Sun, Sickles, and Kemet. What do those have in common? They all have these god cards or minis that you can put onto the field, and they have extraordinary powers. And I just like seeing the designs. Rising Sun's one of the most beautiful games I played, and those minis with that giant dragon and those Onis that you pick. It's amazing, I love looking at them. The same thing with Blood Rage, these monsters. It's like, okay, you could have a Viking game and that's cool, but when you have a Viking game where you also add these monsters and these gods, I'm all into that. That gets me jazzed up, these extra gods, and I would say if I had to bring it down, it would be Japanese mythology is probably the one I would get most excited about, but I didn't want to break it down too far. All those types of games are, stuff I really like. And when it's announced, I kind of already am interested in. So that sits on bronze for me. Code, do you want to talk about your silver pick?
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna match, but clearly we did. Mine is mythology as well.
Oh, just
Uh,
mythology too?
mythology, yeah. So more
Okay.
specifically,
Nice.
Greek mythology.
Okay.
I love the Greek mythology. To me, it's interesting. It has the most interesting characters, the most interesting creatures. Um, Cyclades is one you mentioned that comes to mind for me. I just like using the aspect of um, using the gods for help and all that, and then you can get monsters to help you. Like the Cyclops or whatever, Pegasus and all that. To me, it's just like you said, just when you add these monsters and just this whole new world that's you can literally create anything with mythology. To me, it's just keeps me super interested, which is what you want in a board game. So mythology
I,
is number 2 for me.
I think that's an excellent pick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Joe, you want to hit us with your
Okay.
silver?
So my silver.
Mythology.
So, yeah, we're gonna believe this. No, my silver is probably a little bit surprised you guys. It is horror. Okay.
Whoa, we thought
You guys
this was
probably thought
number
that was
one.
gonna be
No,
number one, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
number 2.
I know number 1.
I'm sure you do number 1. Um, Games of note is like Betrayal in the House in the Hill, Dead of Winter, and Eldritch Horror. The only reason this isn't number 1 is because I haven't found that game where I'm just like, this is it. This is my favorite game. You know what I mean? And horror can do that. If someone comes out with a great horror game, it's gonna do it. It's gonna be my number 1. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's gonna.
I mean,
if
they've
it's
come
I'm
out with great
surprised.
horror games, but it just hasn't
I
been
just
one that's
haven't
been
found
like.
one.
It
I'm
hasn't been one
surprised
that's been like your. Well,
Abomination hasn't
you
done one
have
yet.
great horror games. It just hasn't been one that's like your number one game.
I'm just waiting for them to make Halloween the game. Michael Myers trying to kill somebody. That will instantly. I don't care how crappy the game is. It'll go up to number 1 automatically.
So, like we picked a pretty broad subject with mythology. Horror is super broad as well. Is there like a subcategory of that like is better than the others? Like
I would
is
say
it slasher? Is it
probably has to be like a
supernatural
serial killer
Okay.
slasher, and maybe like ghosts or something.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the zombies one. I haven't played a game where I'm like, man, this is a good zombie board game. But
Right.
yeah, so that's my silver.
Okay.
Horror.
My silver is kind of close. I was thinking horror as well because we tend to lean towards any game that comes out and it's horror. We're like, oh, let's pick it up. But I want to be. It's kind of in the same vein. I picked murder. Murder is my second favorite theme. I just love the idea of someone getting their throat slashed. I don't know what it is, but it's just something that really like excites me. It's
You need help.
fun. But like a lot of these games are based on like solving the murder of something, and that's always interesting because it feels like the stakes are so high. Someone was murdered. That's crazy. But a couple games that really exemplified that for me was we just talked about Deception Murder in Hong Kong. That's one of my favorite games. That's all about a murder in Hong Kong. So Chronicles of Crime was one that instantly I wanted to buy because you're solving murders. And Betrayal at House on the Hill, that has a lot to do with murders as well, as long as like Aki Ono or whatever that
Peter
game was.
Akamoto.
Come on, don't disrespect Peter Akamoto, man.
Yeah, so murder is just something where I'm like, yeah,
We're
I think it's a
kicking him out
cool.
of
I think
the
it's a cool
podcast.
theme, man.
Yeah.
And now number 1, where I don't think I know Cody's, I don't know Joey's, unfortunately. So I think I'll be surprised at both. Code, what is your number 1 theme?
I think my number 1's pretty obvious.
I probably just overlooked it.
Games of it. Actually, I think we only have one.
Uh,
It's dinosaurs.
Okay.
You know how much.
Fair.
You two know how much I love dinosaurs. I have a dinosaur tattoo. To me, dinosaur in it, I probably will instantly be interested in it. We do have Dinosaur Island, which is a fun game. You create your own island with dinosaurs, which is like Jurassic Park. So to me, just if a game has dinosaurs, I will like I said, instantly just be looking for it, see if it's a good game or not. One that might be on my radar for the future is Raptor. I know that's only a 2-player game, but I've heard good things about it. So maybe in the future I'll have to pick that up and give it a try because it has dinosaurs. So.
Yeah. No, I would agree. Dinosaurs probably is like a 4 or 5 for me, actually. I like dinosaur games too. Dinosaur Island's probably top 10 for me. I love that game.
I don't love dinosaurs as much as you two, but they seem to make really good games. Dinosaur Island's a great game, lots of different mechanics in it, so I do enjoy that. But yeah, that's a good pick. I probably should have known. I really thought yours was going to be mythology though. Yeah. I really thought that was your number one. Joe, like I said, I don't know yours, but go ahead, hit me with it.
We are kind of matching a little bit. Mine is murder/mystery.
Wow. Okay.
I like the murder aspect, but I like the mystery, trying to figure out the mystery aspect more. Some games to note is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. I've played that with my fiance a couple times, and that one just that's a brain teaser, man. That thing's crazy. And Mysterium is one of them. And Murder in Hong Kong is one of them. Like I said, I just like the aspect of, if I was an accountant, I'd be a detective. That's that.
What a difference. You know what I mean? What a different occupation.
Yeah, exactly. Just figuring out that mystery is just so much fun to me. And that's my gold. Murder/mystery.
Amusement parks. I thought amusement parks was going to be up there. And we have theme parks, yeah.
Yeah, the problem is we haven't bought enough of those games.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was looking at more of the games. What's my favorite type of game? It has to have good games on it. If it doesn't have good games on it, then I'm probably not. I only have probably 2 of those games,
But we talked about these themes. These themes make us instantly interested, and for us not to have too many theme park games, does it get us interested? Because we haven't, or for Joe, he hasn't really bought any. He has one, right?
Theme park.
Yeah, I have one. I do get interested in those games. But when I read them, I'm like, man, this sounds like crap.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go on to my gold. My gold. Do you guys have an idea what it is?
Farming.
No.
Farming.
I'm gonna say. I want to say space, but I don't think it's
wine.
Space. I'm blanking
space.
out. No, I'm blanking out.
All right, my favorite. Did you want one more quick guess?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to know as soon as you say it.
My favorite theme is economic. I get so jazzed when a game has you have to sell a product and you have to work with the supply and demand. You have to set prices. You have to appeal to customers. And to me, that is just amazing. I want to jump right into that game and play it and mess around with the supply demand, the customers and all that, the advertisement. One game that I really love, super long, super difficult, complex, is Food Chain Magnate. I absolutely love that game. It's amazing, but I played plenty more now. Pipeline, I feel like, is one of those games. Cody, have you played that with us?
I did play Pipeline. I believe that's the one where I hated the rules, where I couldn't keep picking the same pipe, or I couldn't pick a pipe from the other row, I believe.
Okay, yeah, but that has a lot of puzzly aspects to it. But at the end of the day, it's you're trying to sell this oil. And I just love that. I love having the price. And Smartphone Inc., another one. You're setting the prices of these phones, and you're trying to sell them, and you're trying to, get a better deal than Joey has. But you're also trying to make as much money as possible. And Stockpile, another one. I know that's, a stock game mostly, but it deals with the same kind of stuff. And I love where you're messing around the numbers, and that's the main aspect of it. It's just one of the things.
You can argue modern art too for that.
Modern art, Brass Birmingham. I know we haven't really played that too much, but that was something where it's okay, I'm setting these prices, I'm selling stuff. I love these types of games. I want to get into the nitty gritty and sell my product. So when a game is economic based and that's the main thing, I'm interested immediately. So, yeah. I think we
Okay.
had 9 pretty good picks. I'm glad to see that. Code and Joe, you guys didn't have a crossover, right?
No.
But I had a crossover with each one of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys, yeah, good picking by all of us, I think. That was Podium. I hope you guys enjoy that segment. I think that'll be my favorite segment going forward. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this episode. We're at 1 hour and 15. We have one more thing to do, and it is Cole, what's it called?
It's called the Wheel of Destiny.
No. Joe, what's it called?
Wheel of Destiny.
The Wheel of Destiny. That is
I look at it
correct.
as more mysterious. You're too
No.
excited.
It's not mysterious. We know exactly what's on the wheel. If I could explain the Wheel of Destiny, it is what we're going to start next episode's topic as. We wanted to kind of make it board game like. We're going to spin a wheel and see what we got to talk about next time. And I think we have 6 pretty good categories. It's our first episode, so we better have the strongest categories we can have. I'll run them down for you real quick. We have talking about legacy game, talking about our personal top 10 and what makes it that. We're going to be talking about expansions, art and theming of games, how important is it? And what was the last one? Our personal gaming evolution and co-op games. So those are the 6 different topics we have. I have a spin the wheel right in front of me. I'm going to spin it. I'm going to show it to the camera so you guys know I'm not cheating. Do you have a pick 'em code? You love gambling. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Which one's winning tonight?
I'm gonna say the co-op games.
Co-op games. That sounds terrible. Joe.
I'm gonna double down and say co-op games.
Co-op games. I've been talking about it for weeks. Every time I
I
bring up the Wheel of Destiny, I talk about legacy games. I'm saying legacy is winning.
Know.
There we go. Can you guys see it all right?
Yep.
I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to see where it lands.
Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay.
And we have landed on
expansion.
So the next topic for next month's episode will be all about expansions, how we feel about them, our favorites, what it'll take for us to buy an expansion for a game. We're just going to kind of delve deep into everything about it. This will get taken off the board and replaced with a new topic. And now that I picked Legacy, it probably won't get picked for 10 weeks, or 10 episodes. So we will be talking expansion next time, but I think that's all the time we have for this show. Cody, thank you so much, fellow co-host. Joseph, thank you so much, fellow co-host. And I was Cory, your host. If you guys enjoyed this episode, stick around, subscribe. We're going to be doing this once a month, and if you like it, we'll do it more. I'll do it twice a week if I have to. I don't care. I love talking board games. I know these two guys love it. It's going to give me an excuse to buy board games. So I hope you had a really good time with it. Tell a friend, tell a mother or grandmother. It doesn't matter. Any little bit helps us. And thank you so much for listening. We hope to see you back next month. This has been We the People. Goodbye.
Peace.
It's We the Meeple, not We the People.
Oh, no. Frick. Oh, no.
Just say this has been We the Meeple. Really quick.
He's gonna look so janky. This has been We the People.
Correction. This has been We the Meeple.